Okay, so the last concept here that I would like to present in the firewall lecture is the concept of defense in depth. The concept of defense in depth. We all know, guys, that the fact that we have multiple firewalls in our system gives us a very good opportunity for defense in depth. What's a defense in depth? A defense in depth is basically building a multi-layer system that produce more resistance against attacks. So it's like, you know, when you build multiple doors, multiple locks, multiple steps, okay, multiple levels in order to make the thief not to reach his destination. So multiple firewalls can give us this, but we have to architect it in the right way. Okay. So now focus with me, because this will be part of your homework and will be also part of your exam, final exam, and how to architect your firewall. So the first step we already discussed extensively. What is the first firewall that you ever gonna put in the border of your system? Is that stateless screening firewall. You have it here. Okay, screening router with screening firewall, screening router, screening firewall, stateless router, the stateless firewall. They are all the same. Okay, this is the first thing you expect to meet. This is the first thing that any package is expected to meet at the boundary of the network. After this, you have what we call the main stateful firewall. So actually, firewall, guys, have 3 ports, not only the input ports. This is the input port and the output ports, but it has another additional port. Stateful firewall, only stateful, have another additional port called what? DMZ port. What's a DMZ? DMZ. DMZ port is demilitarized zone. It's demilitarized zone coming from military concept. It's referring to isolating part of the system. Okay, so if you have an island that's completely off the shore and very hard to get into, it's a demilitarized zone. Okay, so in the network concept, or in the cybersecurity concept here, it refers to segment of your network that's completely isolated from the rest. A segment of your network that's completely isolated from the rest. It's called demilitarized zone. Okay. So why firewalls has this? That's a very, very good question. Why firewalls has this DMZ zone? Okay. So whatever I put behind this DMZ zone will be isolated from the rest of my network. Okay. What network you're talking about? This is my network. My network comes here. Okay? This is my network. Okay? This is called secure network. My secure network. Secure network. Okay? So when I talk about isolation, I mean isolation from my network, not from the internet. I don't care about the internet. Okay? Why we need the concept or the principle of DMZ? Because of the following. We often have surfaces in our network that is usually used by general public. For example, web, DNS, okay, email, okay, and so on. Maybe you have some database server that you want your customers to access, a database server. Okay, all customers can go and search for something. So whenever you have a server or a services that are supposed to be accessible by the general public, by people who are not belong to your own enterprise, then it must belong to the DMZ zone. That's the okay. Why is this? Okay, let's explain this a little bit conceptually. Yeah.
It's a buffer though.
It's, what do you mean by buffer? I don't want to use another word which is not usually used scientifically, but what do you mean by buffer?
Maybe, you know.
No, it's not a buffer, if I understand what you mean. No, it's a complete isolation. Let me explain and then you ask me the question again.
Okay.
Okay, let me explain this. Whatever you put in the DMZ zone can never ever initiate traffic this way. Traffic this way will be unallowed. Never. They can never initiate traffic. However, they can initiate traffic this way. That's fine. But there's no, by default, you don't have to say anything by putting this one here and putting DMZ. That means you must configure the DMZ, otherwise this DMZ is useless. You must configure DMZ to not allow any initiating, by the way, initiating traffic. Not response. If I am sitting just right here and I want to contact the web server here and get back a response, I might allow this response back. But no initiating, no SYN traffic, like SYN, SYN, okay? No initiating traffic from here to here. Why is that? Because this is a zone, or these are surfaces that accessible by general public. It can be infected. If it's infected, if it's compromised, I don't want this compromised, I don't want this worm to kind of propagate into my network. So how this worm will propagate to my network, it will start scanning, reconnaissance, and connecting, fingerprinting. All of this will be immediately shut down because you will not allow any initiating traffic. Okay. The perfect isolation that I recommended, that you don't allow either way. You don't allow going this way or coming this way. That's complete isolation. But nobody's doing this, or not nobody, but very few people doing this. Okay? So what most of the practices, just to make it short here, most of the practices is not to allow the initiation, means no SYN, if it's TCP, no SYN will fly this way. Okay? Any SYN will be blocked by this port. Okay? But you allow SYN coming this way and response coming this way. And the argument why you allow this and not allow this, because this will be timely. I control it. I go and check something and come back. Okay? They said, okay, it has a limited, it does limit the damage or the attack, the potential of the attack, it does limit it, but it does not eliminate it, because you're still contacting with this DMZ zone. So rule number one is to go and look at your asset in your network, which is here, and say, which one of these assets in your network that's supposed to be publicly accessible, okay? Accessible by the public, okay? And then say, okay, web servers are accessible by the public. I just shift it here, okay? HTTP proxy, okay. Oh. DNS. DNS needs to be accessible by general public in order to access your resources. So, but DNS also accessible by, need to be accessible by your own employees. So what do? You split the DNS into two different DNSs. One called internal DNS, one called external DNS. Okay? The perfect design of firewall is not to have any reason for your employee to go here. Okay. Is there any issue?
We need a charger.
Need charger. Ooh. Okay. Let's see. You have here. I think you have this. Okay. It doesn't have extension though.
Power bank?
Is that USB?
It's dead.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
You can plug it into my laptop.
Huh?
You can plug it into my laptop.
Okay, let's see. How much it has?
20%.
Did you stop it or still recording?
It's still recording.
Still recording. Okay. By the way.
Yep, start over.
Okay.
Oh, we're good.
Good?
Good.
Okay. Okay, guys, just focus one more time here. Let's start with the perfect way. The perfect way, if you have surfaces here, that's needed by your employee, you replicate them. Let's assume you have a database that's both are required to be accessible by your employees and by your customer. Okay, so you have two duplicates of the database. One will be inside, one will be outside. Okay, the one is outside, accessible by your customers or any public accessibility. The one is inside, only accessible by your employees. What's the hassle of this? You need to synchronize both of them. You need to give them, but that's the hassle. But that's where security really matters. Sometimes you need to put some cost here and sacrifice something. And the sacrifice cost here for security I think is the right way to do. We have done this with DNS. We can easily split the DNS or duplicate the DNS. Okay, the internal DNS, external DNS. Okay, some people don't do this across the board for all services, like web services. They put a web service here, the web server here, and they say, you know what? This web server will never initiate any connection here, but I will allow my customers to access it temporarily or access it, by sending a request and getting a reply without, allowing the web server to initiate connection. And they still call it isolation. This is not a complete isolation, but it's a reasonable isolation that many people use. Okay, but that's a concept here of the first defense in depth. Yes.
So I understand why the DMZ shouldn't be able to communicate back inside to the internal network, but what's inherently bad? Because like you said that ideally nobody can access the DMZ, right? I'm going to have to go out to the internet and then back into the DMZ. Why? What's bad about communicating from the internal network directly to the DMZ?
What do you mean by going out to the internet, coming back to the DMZ? There's nothing like that.
No?
No. There's nothing going out to the internet, coming back. That's it. This DMZ will not be accessible by anyone here in any way. Back to the internet or through direct?
Just not at all.
No. Because, okay, so let's assume that the web server is infected.
Right.
Okay? Is there a possibility that if I, as a client here, access one of the pages here that has malicious scripts?
Yeah.
Okay? Is it a possibility that this virus will jump or this worm will jump at me or and infect my client during this transaction? It is possible. It is possible. Okay? So the web server is infected and it's put his malicious code in PHP somewhere in one of the pages. You come here as a client browsing this web server and this PHP script, malicious script, launch a attack and compromise your browser. Okay? And now it's inside here. So there is a possibility of this, right? So by isolating or by preventing or denying any initial access, you eliminate a good portion of the attack surface, but not entirely. Not entirely, because you still have a contact. Okay? If you want to have entirely, then you should deny both ways. Okay? No access. So why are you coming here? Because you want to save time. You want to save money. You can have the same server replicated here and just put it here, man. That's why this is the right way. This is why I advise all the companies when I talk to them, okay, go with redundancy and go with replica, okay, and replica control. Replica control means there are some extra software they have to use. Every time you change this file, it changes the file in both places, okay? That's expensive, just replica control. So you always have consistent pages, okay? But do not allow your customers to come here and then, even for a short time to browse something and search for something, because during that time, who knows, maybe a malicious script will be executed in your browser, which is sitting there, and then who knows, now the malware might be inside now and again, now can spread. Okay. So this is called partial, there's a partial isolation, full isolation. What I recommend, the full isolation. Whatever you put here, no communication both ways. Okay? But the minimum requirement by any standard is not to allow any initiation of traffic from this way. The minimum. If you allow traffic to be initiated from this region, DMZ, to inside, you completely destroy the concept of DMZ and defense in depth and firewall. Okay, this makes no sense. This DMZ has no value anymore. Yes.
So like a real world example of this setup, would that be something like a public library terminal, being the DMZ, or like an airport terminal kiosk, or even like, maybe this is not accurate, but maybe like Amazon Web Services and things like that, if you're looking at that Google as a company, or Amazon as a company rather.
Mm-hmm. So the question is it gonna, can
Are
be used?
those real world examples of this setup?
So what is the first example? The airport, you said the airport?
Yeah,
kiosk?
either an airport kiosk, or even like a public library where you're able to get on their terminal and look up different things and have access to whatever network they might have. Say like one of the ones at our school, for instance.
I'm not sure if I understand the example, but if you go to the airport, you're able to use their system to access their database and find out your boarding pass and
Yeah.
get it out. So I think I think if I want to go with this example, I would say the server that you're contacting supposed to be in the DMZ. The server beyond the chaos, beyond this entry point,
Yeah.
should be in the DMZ.
Right.
Should not be
But
deep
you
in the
don't have
network.
access to the full schedule of all flights.
Exactly.
And how
Yes,
everything is
yes. It should be
organized, or
isolated. No, it should be
employees,
even segmented. So because I can launch an attack or launch a malware that goes from that entry points, okay, all the way to the database. If this database now exists in the heart of the network, then it's a big deal. It's a big problem, right? So the principle is extremely simple. Resources that can be accessible by someone outside your network, it should be in the DMZ area. As simple as that. Okay? So let's assume that you want your employee to log in from home. Okay? And you have a remote access point for them. Okay? Remote access servers. Okay? So they can come and then into this remote access server to authenticate themselves, and from that point on, they will establish a secure tunnel to their machines or to their servers inside. Where are you going to put these remote access servers? In the DMZ. Because they will come from home. Okay? The remote access server should be in the DMZ area because these remote access servers are servers. It can be infected. As servers can be infected. So you put it in the DMZ. Then those people comes into the DMZ, authenticate themselves. If they are authenticated, then it will be routed to a IPSEC channel that is obviously a gateway that establishes a secure channel inside the network. And even those servers that are going to go inside the network should be limited. It should be in the internal internal DMZ. It should not be in the heart of the network where everything can be accessible. Okay. So I did not talk about something here which is called nested DMZs. Okay. You can have this is called external DMZ. I can have multiple DMZs inside where if I have another DMZ inside, that means my subnet, okay, can access it, okay, but this DMZ, which is inside, cannot access another subnet. This is to make isolation within my network. Imagine this concept. This concept is to do what? To isolate the internet from? Right. Okay, let's just change the names. Instead of internet, call this cyber DNA, okay? And I call this one CCAA. I can use the same concept to isolate two subnets within my network. So this concept is not only used to isolate between internet and secure network, but actually you can do micro-segmentation, and you can use this concept inside here and isolate two different segments or two different subnets, okay? So it's the same concept. So what is the concept behind it? How you decide for this? Well, this is another course where I teach risk quantification and risk assessment. It's based on risk. If CCA and cyber DNA, two different domains, two different centers within the college, if these two centers, two different subdomains have a different different risk values or different risk scores. Okay, the risk of cyber DNA is very different from the risk of value of CCA. Then it makes sense to isolate them. So those who are similar risk scores will be actually together, will not be isolated. Those who are varied risk scores, this is what I teach in the other course, which is very important concept here that actually linked with firewalls. So start with risk. Okay, how you measure risk? You measure risk based on vulnerability, exposure, and impact. Vulnerability, exposure, and impact. There's a very, involved process in how to compute risk based on these three measures. But at the end, you have a score. You have a risk score for everything. You have a risk score for every asset. You have a risk score for every domain. Okay. You want to have those who have the same risk score together. Those who have a very different risk scores separated from each other, isolated from each other. Can we apply the same concept inside? Yes, because this is only labels. I'm now using external DMZ. They call this external DMZ because it separates the secure network from the internet. But there's no other reason not to prevent me to do the same thing inside by making this internet, for example, domain X, and another one is the secure network is domain Y. Right? So now I can apply or reapply the defense in depth and DMZ as many as I like in my network. So I might have cyber DNA and CCA, both are subdomains, but they are not having the same privilege. Okay? So there is a DMZ area in my network, internal DMZ, that cannot access CCA, but it can access cyber DNA because CCA has a more critical than cyber DNA, for example. Okay, so anyway, so you don't have to worry about all these kind of deep details about the internal DMZ. What I want you to get, this is the most important thing here, is that the concept of defensive depth using external DMZ. What we put in the DMZ area, we put here the public services. What is the configuration? So by just putting them in the DMZ is not like self-configured. They are not self-configured. You have to configure the DMZ. The DMZ is a port. So by the way, in your homework, you're gonna have this port. Okay, so this is the input port. Let's say I1, this is the output port, O1, okay, this is the DMZ. When you write policy, you have to say this for interface. So you have to put that, you have to apply interface I1. I have this policy. Then you write the policy. Okay? Then you say for interface. Okay? O1. Then you write the policy. Then you say for DMZ. And then you write the policy. Every port in the firewall will have a policy. Okay? So the rule that we used to write, it has an interface field. Which interface this rule will be applied is your responsibility. There's nothing called, a rule, apply it anywhere. No, it's not applied where you apply it. Should I apply it in the input port and output port or the DMZ? So some people might ask that question now. This is a very important question. Okay, then if I have a rule, where should I put it? I'm asking you a question. So if I have a rule to deny UDP traffic, all UDP, where should I put it? In the input port, output port, or the DMZ?
Input.
In the why?
Because it should be the first thing we do.
It's exactly, that's the rule. You put the rule at the interface that sees the packet the first. You put the rule at the interface that sees the packet first. So if you want to say deny any outgoing SSH, where you should put it?
Oh.
No. Okay. Now you got it. Okay. So put the rule in the first interface it will hit. Okay.
So if all you can see are the headers and the
Headers.
port, of the stuff. What's the point of a firewall if you can just tunnel to any port that you want?
You can't tunnel to any port you want.
But I could tunnel.
The firewall has to allow the tunneling.
Right. So what's the point? What's the point?
The tunneling is defeating the purpose of firewalls. the more tunneling and more punching holes
Yeah.
you are punching, the less value the firewall will have. This is why it's not a good idea.
Okay.
This is not a good practice.
Right.
It's not a good practice. You might use it for a very necessary, very exceptional cases. But the more tunnels you have, the more punching holes, right?
Yeah.
Is not a good practice.
Okay.
It's not a good, that's going against the spirit of firewall. What some firewall is for. I agree with you. Okay, great. So now for this example of a company that has a marketing and accounting departments, and it has the public services. So okay. So what we have ended up doing here is putting all the public services. Or public services is in the DMZ area, including DNS. Interesting things about SMT, because what I have here in the SMT is the SMT proxy that can be accessible from a server, from inside. So, and the SMT proxy here is like a built-in virus checker that can check the email as they are coming, and it will act as a buffer then. If you can think of this, this is like a buffer. It's collecting the email, but the email will not go back in before the server comes and collect them periodically in a certain time. So, but this is SMT. Sorry, SMT relay here. This one, yeah. And then what you have inside here, inside the network, you have marketing and accounting. Okay, which one is more risky, accounting or marketing? Which one is more critical? Accounting. So this is why we bought the firewall here. So to isolate the marketing from accounting. Okay. So this firewall is to make sure that attack on the marketing domain cannot propagate easily to the accounting, applying the same principle. Okay, that's it. So, for example, here, this firewall will never allow initiating traffic from marketing to accounting, but it will allow accounting to inquire. It will allow, this is okay, but this is not okay. That's a DMZ now. That's internal DMZ. Okay, it's not okay because I don't want anything to initiate. But if the accountant wants to come and have a temporary access, look something up, maybe I'll allow it. Perfectly, if you want to allow both, disallow both, that's even better. That's how you can do this, through this firewall. This firewall can do this. Okay, okay. That's the full story of how you define a DMZ areas, internal and external DMZ in your network. Okay. So far, so good. Okay. IPSEC, not far from firewall in terms of processing and operation. We don't have a standard for cybersecurity when IP has been created, whatever years, 30, 40 years ago. Security was not even in the agenda, was not high priority. Scalability, reliability was the most important criteria for the internet design. So security has been added later on. So how to provide secure IP sessions, okay, was a huge problem. And they added this kind of standard called IPSEC to secure the communication between two domains on the internet. So if you have two different domains, maybe UNCC and Bank of America, just for the sake of argument, okay, two different domains, and they want to communicate with each other through the internet. Okay, so these two domains, we call them secure domains. Okay, this is a secure domain. This is secure, but this internet is insecure. So the standard says that if two secure domains will communicate to each other, wants to communicate with each other securely over insecure domain, we provide IPsec solution by having a secure tunnel established between these two domains over the insecure or unsecure domain. That's basically the principle here. So what does this IPsec now? This will be IPsec here, IPsec gateway G, and then IPsec gateway here. IPsec gateway that provide you with this secure channel. What they do? I mean, the same thing we learned in the crypto system. Crypto systems. It does authentication, encryption across the internet. So if there's a man in the middle attack over here, he will not be able to change the message. He will not be able to read the message. He will not be able to do anything with the message. At the same time, Bank of America can authenticate UNCC, UNCC can authenticate Bank of America. So the concept is very simple because this has been like an add-on surface. It's not, it was a de facto standard. It's a de facto standard for security. To provide secure IP across the internet using IPsec. That's it. That's a solution. So I don't want to go further than this. This is good enough for this course to understand IPsec as a gateway to provide crypto and cryptographic securely sessions across insecure network. Even if this is wire, but by the way, this doesn't have to be internet. It could be a wireless network. So you have a wireless network. It's just broadband networks, cable networks. Is again, it's insecure. So you can do the same thing. But the question here is how this IPsec gateway works. You need to write policy for them, exactly the same way you did for firewall. You need to write policy for them. So they are not just kind of a plug and play boxes. You get it out of the box, you just put it there and just, oh, IPsec gateway is working. No, you need to write similar rules, very similar rules. But what's the difference between IPsec and firewall? Firewall has two actions. What are the actions of firewall? Allow and deny, which is called binary action. In here, you have to define various kind of actions. Do you want to use authentication? Do you want to use encryption? Do you want to use tunnel? What kind of key? What's the length of key? What's the length? 128, 512? All of these are different options. So you have about 8 different options. So let's start with a very simple introduction of IPsec in terms of components wise. What does IPsec provide? IPsec provides you with 2 surfaces, one called AH and one called ESP. I have slides there. You're going to look at the slides, give you more details, but believe me, this is conceptually what you need to understand. AH means authentication. ESP means encryption and authentication, okay? By the way, you cannot use encryption without, okay? So which one is more involving or more processing? ESP, okay. So, because AH does not mean your traffic is encrypted, but I want to make sure that I'm talking with UNCC or I'm talking with Bank of America. These boxes will help everybody in UNCC. That's a good thing about it. Just you have one box, okay? That helps all the users to have secure communication with any user here, with any user here. We'll have secure. You don't have to have a box for each user. But this expensive solution, or you can have a software like we do here. We have a software in each laptop for each user. It's the same concept. Either you put one box for everybody, or you split this box into pieces of softwares in every client. It's both are okay. They are both have the same concept. Okay. So when you come to write a rule, you have to define what's an ASP, what's an AH. So let's look at the firewall rules here. Look firewall policy in IPsec. So IPsec exactly works as firewalls, means it has the same flavor of access control. Look at this firewall policy here. So it has two parts. It's called access list and map list. Two parts. This is one part, this is another part. The access list is the same as firewall. It has three actions. When you define a when you define IPSEC rule, you either say I protect, I want to protect, bypass, discard. Okay. Bypass and discard is the same as firewall. Bypass means allow, discard means okay. If the packet is bypassed or discard, this IPSEC will act as a firewall. Exactly firewall. But you have a third option. You are not discarding, you are not bypassing, you are protecting. Means you have to go to the map list. How to protect. And you have to choose AH, ESP. Okay? When you go to the map list, you have AH or ESP, and you have another option, transport or tunnel. Tunnel means gateway, okay, from border to border. Transport all the way from the source to destination. So if I have here a client sitting, okay, and have a client, another server here, and I want to have access to this server in Bank of America, I can go through the gateway and establish a tunnel. Or I can actually start from this point and establish a tunnel from this point, from my client, all the way to the server. This is called transport. Why people will do this? If I trust my network, I wouldn't do this. I will go to the gateway and then the gateway to the gateway. Because I trust the link from here to here, trust the link from here to here. I don't need this. But sometimes people really want to make more assurability of security, and they might do transport. Transport end to end. End to end from source to destination. And tunnel is from network to network. Tunnel is from network to network. Okay? And it both has pros and cons. I mean, this has a cost. Okay, if you want to go from your machine all the way to the server machine, everything is secure across, So, anyway, this is an option you have. You have how many options here? AH, ASP, transport, tunnel, how many options you have? 2 by 2, you have 4 options. And for each one of these options, you also have an option of what's the key size, what's the key size, the encryption protocol, what's the hash you will use, what's the hash function you will use, what's the size of the hash functions. So all of this are options for you to use when you write your policy. Let's look at an example, because you have one homework, so access list and map list. Let's look at an example. The example makes it very clear. So here is an example of, very nice example because show you both transport and tunnel mode. Okay, so there's a gateway here. The 555 and 666 are gateways, and you have a client 111 and server 222. Okay, and you want to write a policy that allow these gateways to encrypt traffic. These gateways to ASP, encrypt traffic. Okay. So remember, so the IPSEC policies has 2 parts. The first part is the access list. The second part is the map list. So let's look at this gateway. This is the access list. You see this line here to separate between the access list and the map list. So what does this gateway say? If there is a traffic coming from 11 star to 22 star, what? Protect. If I change this one to, change it to accept, or what do you say, bypass, then it will not be protected. It's just going to act as a firewall. It's just going to let the packet go through. Okay? But the fact that it's actually protect means I have to come here. I have to come to the map list. Check for that. Match again. 111, 2222. Okay. If this is traffic going from 111 to 222, okay, then encrypt it. Encrypt the traffic using tunnel. And whenever you use a tunnel, you have to put what's the end of the tunnel. Who's the destination of the tunnel? So who's the peer? Who's the peer that carry the tunnel from the other end? 666. And then you say what kind of encryption protocol you will use, encryption algorithm here. Triple this. You can use EAS, you can use whatever. And you can specify the keys, what 512, 100, 128, you can specify all of that. Very flexible. Okay? So this works together. You cannot have one without the other. The first one is the access list, say protect. That map you to the map list to you how to protect. The fact you have this here, you must have a reciprocal one in the other gateway. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. This traffic going back and forth, right? So look at the other gateway here. It's exactly similar to this. It's going from 222 to 111, the opposite. Okay, and the map list from 222 to 111 also ASP, and the end of the tunnel is this way is 555. If you don't have this, if you don't write this way, things will fail. It's not like IPSEC will work one way. No, IPSEC cannot work, will not work. The association between these two will fail. If you don't have this mirroring, we call it mirroring, okay? Unfortunately, you have to write this down. You have to do it yourself. You might say, oh, this is trivial, why didn't figure it out? They didn't figure it out because they don't want to be responsible for configuration of your IPSEC gateways, okay? So very simple principles here, saying that whatever you put here, the mirror of this will be here. That make sense? Okay, so this is why you have this. You cannot just, you cannot even change the protocol. If you are using triple this, you're gonna use a triple this. You have to have symmetric, okay? But this is talking about the tunnel, ESP from here to here. Now, this is interesting example because it shows you two layers of security. I have IPSEC between the gateways, and also I have a tunneling, and I have a transport mode, AH from source to destination. I want to, look at this here, I want to now have IPSEC sessions, but is AH for authentication, between all the way from the source to the destination. Look at what I have here, going from 111 to 222, protect, the same game here. But how to protect? AH, just for authentication. I'm not worried about encryption here. Why? Because from here to here, this part, where I am where? I am within my network. So I'm not worried about somebody man-in-the-middle attack within my network. I'm worried here. Here is the internet. This gateway to this gateway, here's who? This is the internet here. Okay, so this is dangerous. I want to make sure that my traffic is encrypted here. My traffic within my network, here is within my network here. My network, it's not, I'm pretty much confident that I have a good security maybe, okay? So, I mean, it's not wrong to make this one ESP, but just extra overhead. Do you like to pay for something that may not have a high value or high return, okay? So if you put this ESP, is not wrong, okay? But this is kind of a nice compromise here, where you want authentication end-to-end and encryption gateway to gateway. So this is how it works. So you're gonna have AH, transport, MD5, that, what's MD5?
Hash.
The hash. So we're using the advanced hashes. SHA is one, and the MD5, okay. And what do you expect in the other end? Is the reciprocal, okay? The mirroring, okay? Same thing, the other side, coming from 222 to 111, transport authentication. So what you have here in the board, an interesting example that has both ESP and AH. AH end-to-end, authentication end-to-end, and encryption network to network, okay? And in both cases, you follow the same format. Access list, map list. Access list, if you don't say protect here, it will not go through that IPSEC, right? So in your homework, you're just gonna write something similar. In your exam, you're gonna write something similar, okay? So understanding this slide is very important, yes.
So what happens, 555 faces the internet, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens if traffic comes into 555 and it starts with like 1.1.3 and it's going to 2.2.3, that falls outside of the next step, right?
It's going to where? the destination going.
To like 1.1.3.3, just something that's not covered by the next rule, right? An IP address that doesn't fall within the range of the protect.
It's not covered here.
Right.
You
So
said protect and you don't have any rule for it.
yeah.
here.
So what happens?
It will fail.
Okay.
It will fail. It will not. It's called association has to be established.
Okay.
Called association. This is not like firewall. The two gateway will discuss. Hey, are we agreed with this? They both have to agree. If it's not here, it will fail. It will not protect anything.
You can have multiple rules set up.
You can have multiple rules.
Yeah.
You can have multiple rules for different flows.
Yeah.
Every flow will have a different actions. One ESP, one 128 keys, the other one is 512 keys. The good thing about it is very flexible. You can say, okay, if it's coming from the CEO office, you give it 512 because the CEO. If it's coming from engineering department, give it 128. Okay, this is you can really configure your network in any flexible way. You can have a fine-grained controllability here, where you can say per person, per division, per department, per group. You can do all this. Okay, so but the important principle here, important concept here, for this to work, you have to match this access list with protect, and also have to match the map list. If it's not in the map list, it will fail. We're not gonna be protected. And that's actually, it's very interesting because, IPSEC tunnels is a business that service provider provide you, okay? So you go to AT&T or MCI before, I don't know who bought MCI now. I used to work with them in this issue long time ago. They provide this kind of secure tunnels through IPSEC between businesses, okay? And sometimes, you know what? You get a confirmation that there is an IPSEC created for your partnership with X and Y and Z, but this IPSEC is not protecting you at all because it's misconfigured, okay? So the rules are there, but the association is not established, or the tunnel is broken, like you have a tunnel somewhere and a tunnel somewhere, but in the middle there's no tunnel. You have to have a tunnel. You have to have a tunnel all the way through, right? So if you don't have a tunnel all the way through, it's like you are protected from here to the 485, okay? And you are protected from the end of the 485 to your home. But in 485 you are not protected. So what did you get? So this is many of these misconfiguration of IPSEC. Actually, it's a big devastating for businesses because you have blind eye. They don't see it. It's invisible. They take this for granted from their ISP. Oh, we have a tunnel for you. Who knows? Is this tunnel is broken tunnel? Is this complete tunnel? Is it misconfigured? And this is a problem where many businesses fall into. So again, this issue needs to be verified. If you read the article that I'm telling you about, it will give you more information about IPSEC misconfiguration issues and how it could fail. One of what you mentioned is one of them, by the way, one of the scenario of failures. And it's unfortunate when IPSEC fails, it doesn't come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, I messed up. I could not provide you, I don't provide you secure tunnel anymore. Nobody tells you. You think you're sending your information, you think it's protected, and it's not protected. And
So
the only one can help you is a third party. You get a third party company to come and analyze your network and the ISP network, and they will tell you. They will tell you.
So does an IPsec failure pretty much just equate to like being blocked?
Oh, that's a good question. No, if the association fails, it doesn't mean your traffic is blocked, but your traffic is not secure.
Okay.
You blocked means you have to deny it.
So it still goes through.
It's going to go through, but it's unprotected.
But it's still protected. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because the default is not like denial. The default is not denial.
Right. Okay.
They call association fail means you don't have protection. You don't have a crypto protection. Okay, your traffic will be plain text, but it's gonna pass through. Yes.
Right, are we ending at 1:30 today?
I'm just gonna cry here. Okay. No, I need half an hour. Can you?
No, I'll get it to work, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So can I have half an hour here to finish this last part? Okay. Maybe 20 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes. Okay.
There's no food left, the hair's teeter, I'm blaming you.
Just 20 minutes, guys. I really appreciate it.
Go to Walmart.
No problem. Dan, look at this in the recording, okay?
Yeah.
There, you talked about this before.
Okay.
That's true.
Last part, guys. Okay. So what we cover firewall, IPSEC, and the last part here, which is, by the way, so it's right from the beginning, no plans to cover this in depth. Intrusion detection system is a big area, and in this class, 3200, I just want you to have an idea about the importance of this area and the basic concepts there. This is why I think it's even 15 to 20 minutes will be enough. And you will be responsible of, there's no even homework for this, but design homework for this because not focal part, but you're gonna see it in your exam, okay? And you have to understand the major concepts. You need to get familiar a little bit with snort, okay? Understand how we write snort rule. The snort rule is not far from firewall anyway. Okay, so what is IDS? Intrusion detection systems. IDS is a big area, and I just gonna use the board here. It's much better and more efficient. And you can also look at the slide at home and see, you know, same thing or more details a little bit, but IDS is a big area because IDS is touching on that detection part, right? You know, NIST cybersecurity framework. We say identify, prevent. Prevent covered by firewall and IPSEC. Okay, and then detect, then response, then recover. So detection is one of the biggest area that receive huge attention for many, many, many years. Okay, and we want to detect if the system is compromised. We want to detect if my asset is being tampered with. I want to detect if my sensitive information is being exfiltrated. All of this, you know, different reasons or different scenarios of detection. So it involves detection. It involves analyzing the packets and discovering if the packet is malicious. If a packet has, like, you know, the virus checker you have or whatever malware checker you have or malware analysis you have, they are all intrusion detection systems. Okay. But there are two types of intrusion detection systems. This is what I want you to come across. Okay, two types. And if you focus with me here and ask questions, I think we can get this done pretty quickly. Okay, two types. If I want to detect something, either I'm gonna go after the bad thing, okay? If I know the bad things very well, if I know the bad behavior very well, for example, somebody is speeding, is bad or good? I'm not sure, maybe it's good for you. It depends how many tickets you have, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely bad. If somebody is over speeding or speeding, okay? If somebody gets a lot of tickets, and you go to his, you call his insurance company, what the insurance company will say? You have a good record? No, right? It's definitely bad record. So this is what we call signatures. So speeding, reckless driving, accident, right? Accident, not passing inspection, okay? All of these are signatures. For what? For bad things. If you can establish signature for bad things, then you can look for them. If you find these bad things, you will detect that there's something bad, right? That's detection. And that's one area called signature-based. Signature-based detection. So this is looking for bad things. This is where many of the existing tools, including Snort, you go to Snort. It's Snort exactly like Firewall, nothing more. But Snort looks at the payload as well as the head. Okay, but you can you can be very sophisticated. You can say, look at the byte from number 4 to number 44 in my payload. You can specify the range where you want to look. You can look for the entire code, the entire payload. You can look at different, pieces. It's up to you. So Snort will allow you now to look at the entire packet. It's slower than Firewall. It's never been done in the line speed. Means if you have a Snort, this is your network, okay, going to your machines over here, Snort coming here, like this. It takes a copy of your packets, give it to the Snort, and the traffic will continue. This is what I mean, it's an offline kind of. So, a packet coming from the internet, this is the internet, a copy will be sent to Snort, and the original packet will continue, okay? Then Snort gonna do the processing and tell you, hey, this packet is bad, okay? Then you're gonna go back and mitigate. You might be compromised by then. Detection, it does not offer prevention. It does not. It's just gonna give you an idea that there's something bad here. It's already happened. Most likely already happened. Okay, because Snort is slow and look at the entire packet and inspect it and match it against virus checkers or virus hashes. Okay, it is extensive. You cannot put it in the same line. You cannot hold the packet there and do the processing before you forwarding it. Okay, I just wanted this. So I want this to be clear. There's something else called IPS, Intrusion Prevention System, that try to make a compromise between Snort and Firewall, but they are not as extensive as Snort. They don't look at heavy analysis of Snort, especially if you do sandboxing here and you have an attachment, and the attachment, it's you have never seen before. So you might run it. So how are you going to do this sandboxing and running it? You cannot do it just offline. You cannot just online. You have to put it offline. Okay. So this is one major area, signature based. Okay. Signature based saying that if you know the bad thing, you can describe it, you can detect it, you can write Snort rule for it. But there's a problem here. What's the problem? Sometimes I think I know the bad thing. I think I know, but there are many bad things I don't know. And what those bad things that I don't know, or this bad worms or malware that I have never seen and I don't know signature for, we call a zero-day attack. 0 day. So there are many zero-day attacks around me. So this IDS that are signature-based will never help me to detect the 0 day. And this is why we use another kind of IDS. This is IDS types. We use another level of IDS. Okay, and this is called anomaly-based IDS. Anomaly-based IDS has a very different concept. Very different concept. It doesn't require you knowing anything about the bad attacker or bad behavior or signatures. It's actually take the opposite direction. Say, okay, I want to know your normal behavior. If I see deviation from the norm, then there's something bad. Okay, so you have a usual routine. Okay, your daily routine. You wake up in the morning, you go and take a shower, and you take your coffee, you look at the newspaper, and then you go to your car, you go to work. Okay, you do this all the time. Okay. What will be my impression if one day you jump out of bed, okay, you took a shower, but you skip your coffee, you didn't look at the newspaper, and you rush to your car? I would say this abnormal. And I would say there is something different in your life, right? Okay, we call this anomalous behavior. I look for this anomalous behavior. That's deviant from your routine. And I might characterize this as a special event that needs to be investigated, or maybe an attack itself. Okay? Maybe you have an attack, maybe you rush to the hospital. This is why you did this way. okay? So maybe you come from the bed to the car, okay? Because you have some emergency, okay? So an example of this, your CPU utilization, like, okay, just give an example, a cyber example. Through the past 6 months, you know, never exceed an average 60% utilization. Okay, you have a very powerful PC and you're using it on a daily basis. And I took an average of every minute. What's your CPU utilization? Every minute for 6 months. And 6 months, every minute, your average is 60% your CPU utilized. Suddenly I have your CPU measured to be 99% or 90% utilized, okay, for a significant period of time, okay? And then I would say this is anomalous, deviant behavior that might indicate that your PC is compromised and somebody now may be using your PC for cryptanalysis because he's crunching numbers. Your CPU is 99% or 90% utilized and it's completely outside the norm, okay, of your, then, okay, that's just an example. So I look at your CPU utilization, I can look at your memory utilization, I can look at your network usage, how much you use your network, I look at your number of connections you make, I look at the people you are communicating with. If I see anything abnormal there, I will immediately raise a flag. This is called anomaly-based IDS. That is a flag. It does not mean necessarily it is anomalous. Here, if I raise a flag, it's almost 99% it's anomalous in the signature base, if I raise a flag. Because I match the description of the bad guy with what I see. That means that must be bad, right? But here, it's a deviation from the norm. This deviation from the norm, it could be actually sometimes false positive. It could be, you know, just you have a lot of work to do and this is why you skip your coffee. It doesn't mean you're sick, okay? So this is why you have more false positive here. More potential of false positive. But here you have very low false positive. Very low false positive here. That's a disadvantage. This is more powerful, but it gives a lot of noise. People might be annoyed if you don't know how to tune this. Okay? This is the major concept here. Okay? I want you to understand signature-based, anomaly-based. How to compare between them, what's the advantage and disadvantage for both. This can detect 0 day. Plus, this is minus, the plus here, you can handle 0 day. Oh, 0 day attack. Here, you can't handle, it's a plus. Minus here, you can't handle. No catch for 0 day. Okay. Yes?
What about another disadvantage of the anomaly-based one is that you won't be able to detect the stealthy attacks?
No, it's not necessarily true. Anomaly-based is a concept. Some detectors, anomaly-based detectors cannot detect stealthy attack. But if I can build a very sophisticated, anomaly-based, very patient, can detect stealthy attacks, even if it stays for 6 months, I can detect it. So it's very difficult area, anomaly-based. I worked in this area for many years. It's very challenging. People just produce premature detectors because they're in a rush to market, okay? And these premature detectors fall into the trap that you're talking about, okay? But as a concept, there's no fundamentally something prevent me from looking for stealthy attacks. Why we miss stealthy attacks? Because we have a short vision in how we look and where we look. Maybe I don't look at everything. I only look at one thing. But if I look at everything and I have a long vision and have a big data, I can find this needle in the haystack. Okay. Aaron, make sense what I say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Splunk is anomaly-based, right?
Splunk, both. Splunk is a platform. Gather the data, you go and build your detectors. Either way. Splunk is not an IDS. Splunk give you the opportunity to build your scripts that can be an IDS. Okay? Yeah. But Splunk bought an IDS company a year ago. I said there may be a plugin on the top of Splunk. There's an application that's actually in IDS. But as I sent to Aaron, this area is very complex, and if you know, people just trying to sell you everything because they have that detector, and it's not true. That detector is limited. Any detector they have is limited. Okay, so I think Splunk has a plugin or extension. One more thing I want to end this class with is to show you how you use Snort. Okay, and then I'm sure you will be able to look at the rest of the slides. Just one slide about Snort here. This is how Snort is. Yeah. This one. Okay, I think this one is good. Yeah, this one is good. Okay, so Snort is not far from counter firewall rules. Okay, so look at here. This is alert is basically the action. The action comes first. In Snort, you put the actions in. Alerting here. You can log, you can alert, you can log an alert, you can do multiple things. But alert means send you an alarm. Alert send you. This is the action. Okay. Now look at what here. It's the same thing. It's TCP, the protocol. Bad here, bad any. This is IP address. They call it bad here. Means this is very misleading here. Bad means the IP address of the bad guy. That's why they call it bad. But this is IP source. This is IP source, port source, going to destination, IP destination, port destination. Same as firewall. Okay. The action is alert. Okay. But have this extension, which is the options. Okay. Now I'm gonna look at headers or even beyond headers in the content. One of the things that Snort provides, I can look at the flags. TCP flags. If you write flags, this is a keyword. This is a built-in keyword. You say flags means TCP flags. S and F. What's S? SYN. And F is fin. You're saying that if S and F are both set, okay, then the message will be SYN, fin, scan. Okay, the alert, the alarm, gonna have this keyword. SYN, fin, scan is going on. Okay, because this is because of this flag. This Snort rule is based on the header. Okay, but I have another Snort rule is based on the completely in the contents. Okay, which is let's copy this here. Okay, here. Okay, based on the content. Okay, so what is this? Again, TCP, any to any, coming from anywhere to anywhere. Okay, by the way, backslash means continuation, right? Okay, continuation. If the content is a keyword. Content is a keyword. Content means payload. If anywhere in the payload, anywhere, there is a word foo, then send me an alert that has this word, foo detected. Very powerful. So if you are worried about some people exfiltrating data that might be sensitive, but now define what's sensitive. If it has a social security number. What's a social security number? You know what's your social security number. So you just stuck your social security number here. What's your social security number, Aaron? I'm sorry. I just want to have an example. You can give me anything. You can lie. Yeah, go ahead.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
0, 0, 0.
That's a complete lie. Make it okay. Okay, 0, 0, 0. Dash 0, 0, dash 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. 0, 0, okay, 2. Okay. You can put your social security number here. Imagine now, if the packet is not encrypted, Snort gonna look for all, if it's a file, not a file, PDF, not PDF, anything, he's gonna look for entire binary, even if it's executable. You're gonna look at that executable. And if they find this number, that's your social security, then he say, detected your SSN number. Okay, then he will send you this. It will be logged into your log, so you can search for it in Splunk. You can search for it. And you can find, oh, is it detected SSN? Oh, and you can immediately do something about it. You can stop the packet, You can go to that, machine and see why is it compromised. But you cannot do this in firewall, right? You cannot do this in firewall. You cannot search like that, right? That's the important thing here.
So when you break up packets into this, does it just look at a packet, or does it collect all the packets in the
No,
message?
packet per packet.
But is there enough in a packet to be able to get actual data?
It searches every packet the same way.
Okay.
If a packet is fragmented, packet fragmented, it's gonna look at all the fragments.
And it'll still. Okay.
Yes, it's all the
I
fragments.
think
Yeah.
what he's asking is if you have one packet with the letter F and another packet with the letter O, is it going to detect the whole word boot?
No, no.
Sorry.
If you have one packet has this 00 and another packet has this 00, then you fail.
Okay.
It doesn't actually recollect, reassemble the fragments and search on them. No, it doesn't.
Okay.
There is this interesting thing. There is one paper actually. Snort has many evolutions. I don't know about the commercial snort. It makes sense actually. In the open source snort, it doesn't do that. Okay, but I do now remind you that actually people are looking at this fragmentation issues on snort. They know it's a problem. I will not be surprised if there's a solution in the commercial version. Snort used to be open source for all years and was the most popular IDS ever used in the entire world. And even China was trying to buy this, and the United States banned Snort from selling their technology to China. It's a long time ago. And then they make it, they support a company, and they make it a local company here called something Bleed, Shield Bleed or something like this. So there's a commercial, but it still is, you have millions of people are using it, very well supported community, have very nice documentation. If you take my classes, Advanced Network Security, we go deep in Snort, we make people install it and use it. But you can do this if you like to do it at home. You can download Snort, you can use it in your laptop and your desktop. Is reasonable, it's not heavy loaded sometimes if you don't have a lot of rules on it. And there's a lot of rules that you can use and reuse. People share rules, okay? So what I want to say here is very flexible in terms of searching what you want to search. You can search something that's completely a virus hash. The hash, you get it from a virus total. How many of you know what's virus total? Okay, so the virus total is a repository collecting all hashes of all viruses. You can stick it here in Snort rule. I want to show you this is for example here. This is an example of detecting a virus based on a hash. Who determined this hash? Symantec, maybe McAfee, whoever does this, or FireEye. They determined that this spike order is a hash for red code or Corona. Maybe there's a digital Corona in the future. Okay, so now look at what I do here. TCP, IP address, any. Okay, and this is the message that I want to send. This is a malware called NetSky. Okay, the content is this 4E blah blah blah. This is the hex that you can 4E from here. Okay, the hex. All of this is the hex value. If I find this string of hex value in the message, then it is a malware called NetSky, and you're gonna see many alerts. So you can plug in your signature. Okay. There's many advanced features of Snort. You can log in, you can store information, you can create state. You don't have to worry about that. I want you just to understand how you write basic Snort rules here. Again, I can completely drop this class, but it doesn't make sense. I want you to get what IDS is about. With this, I did have finished everything I would like to deliver. Okay, thank you very, very much for coming this weekend. I hope it's worthwhile experience for you. But let's take 5 minutes of wrapping up. If you have questions, any questions, anything regarding Snort or even before, or comments, let's talk about that. Just for a few minutes. Sure? You're eager to go home?
So, you said yesterday that we can access the quizzes and everything.
Yes.
They have, most of them haven't opened up for me yet, but I was able to
Most of them has been opened.
haven't been opened yet.
Has not.
Has not.
But I was able to do quiz 4 and the bonus quiz.
Okay. So you want me to, now I'm gonna go and open all of them. If it's
Well-
not open, I don't know why it's not open. I will look into
Are
it.
they supposed to be open right now?
Yeah, wasn't that the plan? To
Yeah.
open everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
so-
plan is to open everything, but I'm just gonna go and see. So please be in touch with me if there's any errors. And all the slides uploaded, they are up to date. Even after I corrected the slide yesterday, I reposted the slides that's been corrected. The quizzes are all posted. The homeworks all posted. I'm gonna make sure that they are opened. And finally I download my video for the class yesterday. It took a long time. It took like 3 or 4 hours. So I slept and left it running. So